Welcome back to In the Zone. MV Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, Coach Rich Sutter. We're back August 8th. Shout out to my good friend, Mr. Victor Guzman, down in Florida. Happy birthday today, brother. Hope you're having a great day. 808, we can't forget that one. Okay, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's the dog days of summer.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Usually this is the meat of my Babe Ruth experience, but I've been handling some of the tournaments from up here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, handling Ocala, Florida. The 16-18 World Series for Babe Ruth and the 8U machine pitch baseball series from Ocala, Florida.
So I watched a little bit of that Little League the other night. It looks like we have North Dakota and South Dakota in the finals. And I was wondering how that happened since they have like 2 weeks of baseball up there. But those teams look good. I watched them play the other day, and they look very, very good, very strong.
So yesterday in competition, we had Ocala had a team, but Asia Pacific, Mexico, Chinese Taipei. I don't know where Wilder baseball. Gulf Coast, Alabama, Manassas, Virginia, Charleston, Stamford, Connecticut, and Hannaford. And there was teams playing there from, let's see, Mexico, Chinese Taipei, Asia Pacific, United Kingdom, Philippines, Australia, Nigeria.
Beautiful.
All had teams in the 16-18 World Series.
That's
and
awesome.
They wrap up today.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great event.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we jump off every week into Pete's Corner. 3 questions. Pete formulates, postulates, and hoists my way. We call them 3 balls from Pete, and here comes the first one, folks.
All right, I got a question for you as a coach, and maybe even as a parent. Should youth athletes play other sports in the off-season of their preferred sport? Like, if you're a basketball player, should you play something else in the off-season to keep yourself overall toned and so you don't work just the same muscle groups all the time?
What do you want to accomplish out of it? Let's say you have a son.
Yep.
All right. What do you want what level are we talking about here? I want him to be a Division I basketball player. Is that what we're talking about here? I want him to have,
I think
have an NBA career.
What is healthy for the kid?
What's healthy for the person, I think, is to let them do whatever they want to do.
Okay.
Too much parent direction in general. You wind up with a very, very significant portion of that population that doesn't want to be there. They had no interest. They didn't want to go in the first place. That's 50% of the deck when you're younger, right? Parents just pushing their kids into it whether they wanted to do it or not. You know, I think one of the things that happens is it's a little easier for me to say, because if we go back to, let's say, Deerfield Academy way back in the day, and the gentleman who ran the academy was a fine gentleman. I read a book about him, and he had a rule that they had to play 3 sports, no matter who you were, no matter what your specialty was. If you were, a great player, doesn't matter. Football started, then you went to basketball, and then basketball started, then you went to baseball, track, or lacrosse. So you were in all 3 seasons. And the reason for that was to have a more well-rounded athlete, to have a more well-rounded experience, and to have an experience possibly, I think this is huge also, where you're a member of a team sport, but also a member of an individual sport. So golf, tennis, you're out there by yourself.
Right.
When you're in a team sport, you can always find reasons why the team lost that deflect from the individual. The team didn't play good defense. Well, a lot of times it's just like one individual or 2 individuals who didn't play good defense, and that's why you lost. So let's just assume, though, that Pete Coles wants his son to play at Duke. Okay? You have to play all year round. You can't take the time off to play another sport. The only thing that I would say, complementary sports, there are those. So, for example, if I'm a basketball player and I think my son might be getting torched a little bit, he might be getting burned out, he might be in too many games in basketball, I might have him join the track team because it's complementary. He'll get faster. He'll learn how to jump. He'll learn how to do some things that are related to basketball complementary-wise. So that type of it as well. But having a basketball player who plays golf in the spring, though he may be a great golfer, it's not going to help him in basketball. And what the question bears is, do you think that the individual you're with is good enough to make up for the 3 months of the year where everybody else that's really into it is pressing it hard and you're not? And you're outside of it. Do you think that you'll be good enough to stay in there? I think there's a positive and a negative to both of it. The positive I see to it is you'll be well more rounded. You won't be as stressed, and you won't be like living and dying by this one thing. You won't have, as my grandmother used to say, all your eggs in one basket, lad. You know?
Yep.
The downside of it is you could get left behind. The downside of it is at the high level of all of these sports, football, baseball, basketball, the big three, the competition is really, really rigorous. You're looking at guys now in Little League. These kids in Little League, they're 12 years old. They can play. These kids are really, really good, you know. And then we talked about it a little bit with Sammy Beck, but to go into the whole reality of it, and I didn't bring the numbers with me today, but I can tell you the percentages. And the people that go on to play Division 1, 2, and 3, the percentages they're the same, really. And I was a little surprised by that, but not totally, because everybody's got the same roster sizes, basically. Now, whether you have a scholarship to get that kid there, or you have financial aid to get that kid there, or the kid just shows up on his own because he likes basketball, however you populate your roster, only 1.6, under 2% are going to each level. Less than 6% of the total high school basketball athletes are moving on. Less than 6% of almost every sport are moving on from the high school to the collegiate level. And so that's the whole rub of your question, right? Do you want to be one of those that gets to move on? Or do you want to be one that has an unbelievable experience in a number of different sports and doesn't fixate and get caught up in one sport, but at that same moment, what are you giving up?
Okay, so there's the follow-up question then. If you're just playing one sport in high school, you're chasing a pipe dream to get into college.
Yeah. We all chase pipe dreams. So you pick your dreams and you line up next to it. I had a dream to become a Division I basketball coach years and years ago. I wanted to be a Division I head coach. I wanted to be a Division I head coach at my alma mater, St. Bonaventure. I wanted that so bad I could taste it.
Yeah.
Okay? If they called me tomorrow, I'm on my way.
Okay.
So those dreams don't necessarily die. Sometimes your dreams can get sidelined, but with me it didn't really, because I got to do what I wanted to do anyway. You know, the real dash of your dream is when you don't get to do what you really want to do. You know, you wind up doing something else and you don't chase your dreams. And as much as my dream didn't become reality, I got to live within that dream as well and still find a way to exist, although I didn't make it all the way to the top. That was the rub for me. You know, was I good enough? I don't know. But that was my dream. Have I given up on that dream at my age right now? No. No. And when will I? The day I don't coach no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the message to the young people.
All right.
Get some dreams in your life. That's what I think this whole thing with these young people is. They're dreamers. They don't want to be in 9-to-5 jobs. They want to be in jobs where they're allowed to dream and think big and go big and not be shackled to the way that we got shackled a little bit, Pete, you know, in that 9-to-5, you know, and I think that's something new that's emerging. And I think that these young people are really, really intelligent and smart about the way they operate. They realize the economy is not exactly, you know, to buy a house right now, you need $400,000. You know, you and I didn't need that when we started, and neither did our grandparents and parents and everybody else. It gets harder, it gets more difficult. I just want to make sure that we're preparing them well for that and not setting them up to fail, you know. So, a great question, though. The great question.
All right, third question. What would you tell a player that's committed to a college for the fall What would you tell them right now to start getting ready for the season, for the basketball season?
So Division I guys are already there. They're getting ready. They're
Okay.
lined up. Division II, probably not. Division III, my guys will come in after Labor Day.
What can they be doing on their own, though, at home to get ready?
So I get a lot of videos. I'll be honest with you. My guys like me to know what they're doing when I
Okay.
can't see them. So I say I get some videos. We'll see social media. My assistant coach might send me something, and one of the things they sent me the other day was 2 of my guys were on a pull-up bar, and they were doing pull-ups, but then going all the way up to a different spot in the pull-up where you clean the pull-up, but then push yourself all the way up on the bar, which is really difficult, and they were doing some of that stuff. And right now as a coach, to be specific with everybody, we were champions last year. We won the whole thing. We wound up going to the NCAA tournament, which is the highlight of our existence. Okay, so what am I dealing with right now? I'm dealing with a lot of happy customers, and I don't need happy customers. I need hungry customers. I need people that want to keep moving forward. I have people that want to keep going because I'm hungry and I don't want to stop. And so that's what I'm worried about with my team right now. It doesn't appear to me that they're not in hungry mode, though. These guys are working. They're getting after it. I've seen some of the videos. My assistant coach, Wes Jackson, Rob Kelly, they do a great job being in touch over the summer, making sure that we're programmatically in tune, meaning that we give them something to do when they go home, that we want them to do. Just, obviously I want them to hit the beach. I want them to have great summers. I want them to really, really relax, but I also don't want them to lose everything that we did while we were in the school year. And so they're going to go home with a plan. They're going to go home with some training. And that's when we're going to know also, because we always have way more people than we have jerseys. Mm-hmm. And so in Division III, you wind up making cuts. My least, and I say this honestly into the camera to everybody, my least favorite day of the year is having to make cuts. I hate it. I despise it. I wish we didn't have a tryout, but we get so many interested people that we do have tryouts. And so there's the line too. The line of demarcation is when you go home in the summer, really at our place, you don't have any guarantee that you'll be back next year if you don't work hard, if you don't stay with what we're doing, and you don't try and improve and get better. That's what we look for each year in our guys to see. Like, we've had guys that were starters, guys that were all league. They're coming back now. How do you get on them to get better? We've had some guys that sat on the bench last year that are now ready maybe to step up and contribute. How do we make sure and ensure that they're better and that the younger guys we brought in aren't better than them? And so that's what the measurement tool is right now. But that's the thing. You never really got to stay on hoop players too much, because there's such, and I'll say this to everybody, and this might sound really, really a little bit strange to people, but there's such an internal fear with a basketball player that somebody else is getting better. That if you're a real hooper, you don't need to be pushed. You don't need to be driven. You know what you're doing to get better. You have your own way of getting better. You're in the schoolyard by yourself. You're in the gym by yourself. And so that's the whole thing of it. It has a built-in inherent kind of punishment or reward system. If you're in the gym all the time, working hard, getting after it, there's a reward to that. If you're a guy that skips out 2 or 3 days a week and hits it once in a while, albeit maybe very talented, it catches up with you. It catches up with you. It's something that's almost, an everyday chore if you really, really want to be good at it. I say that to players all the time. It's an everyday thing for them, and it's an everyday thing for me as well. Because Bobby Knight said, as a coach, you got to constantly be working on your coaching. You got to constantly be working on your X's and O's and doing that stuff. And I listened to him a long time ago. I believe that. I work on my X's and O's every day. Pete, you killed it. Killed it. Those are 3 good ones.
I was just trying to think of stuff in the off season, because I'm like, we're dead square in the middle of the off season right now, and the NBA is kind of faded from view for a little bit because even the summer league is over, and I'm like, well, okay, well, what do we talk about now?
Well, I appreciate that, Pete, because it's been rough. It's August, and it's been a little bit, content is a lot easier to find during the season, no question about it. But you could wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll get you an hour. I'll get you an hour. There's always things to talk about. There's always discussion points. NBA's really stretched it out. God, they're getting ready to start again soon in September. So, the seasons are longer. We'll see. We'll see. But with the practices going on now, you can start to see the teams take shape. You can start to see the season take a little bit of shape right now. And that's kind of what we waited for all along. Today I got my 50-50. I have the 50 best NBA players that we have out there. That's why I'm going to give them to you 1 through 50 right now after the season that we have. I also have our 1 through 50 college players for this year, which was a lot more difficult than doing the pro guys, I can tell you that. But
college is so shooken up now that a player that was good last year, if they get more cash somewhere else, they might not be the same fit. They might not end up being the same player.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And sometimes it's also fit of program.
Yeah.
Like, why did you go to that school when you're a three-point shooter and they're a grind team? They're a get-to-the-rim team, as opposed to going to Alabama where they shoot the three ball all night long, And so a lot of it is that way. You got to – the money is going to bring people a certain way, but that discounts the fit. The money obliterates the fit. If the money's on the table, you're going to take the best offer, generally. It would take a really, really strong person to sit there and say, I don't need $1 million, I need $650 over at this school because this is my fit. They play the same style of basketball that I'm accustomed to. One of the reasons that we have the portal, Pete, bouncing as much as we do, burgeoning with players every single year, one of the reasons for that is bad fit. Bad fit. I'll give you an example. I'm going to leave everybody nameless. A friend of mine's a really, really prominent New England prep school coach. Every single year, his players are going on to a really high level. Okay? School comes in, number of schools come in, but one school comes in with a very, very attractive offer NIL-wise. Other schools, a little hemming, a little hawing, but didn't come in with the same number that this school came in with. It was a Big Four school. All right? It was a terrible, terrible fit. It was an awful fit because, like I just said, and this is what I was alluding to without getting specific into it, he's a three-baller. Yeah. He's a three-baller all day long and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, shoot
the
lights
program
out, right?
that he went to isn't three-ball. They're grind.
But if you get a talent like that, would the program start to change to fit the talent?
He better be real good. He better be real good. And I'll tell you right now, it didn't because he's on his second school now.
Oh, jeez.
It's good, another good deal. Got a good offer. Got a good, and I think finally might have found himself into a really good fit situation, better than the one he was in. But you also, if you told me that this gentleman was going to be 4 for 4, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
But
four different schools, four different years.
So now should players be? Is that a lack of maturity that they're picking the money over the fit?
No, everybody
or is that just
would do
the economy?
That. Everybody would do that.
I don't know.
Everybody would do that. If ESPN comes to date and offers you and me $1 million apiece to do a show in the zone down at ESPN, we're not staying here.
No.
We're not staying here. Your wife would cut your throat in the middle of the night, and mine would do the same. So you also have to understand that you're also dealing with a population of people a lot of times that have never, ever had money like that.
That's true.
And so now the lure of that and also the encumbrances that go along with that. You're not just going to get that money, keep it. That money's going to be spent a lot of different ways. That money's going to be spent a number of different ways. Your agent's going to get some. This person's going to get some. And then you're going to buy Christmas presents for everybody. You're going to want to buy a new car. Maybe you need an apartment now. You're going to have a social media manager. all of
bigger
this
bills,
stuff
bigger problems.
comes exactly with encumbrances. And so taking the biggest dollar number isn't always the thing. Here's what I see as a little bit of the problem for these coaches and for the players. If you catch $1 million and they were wrong about it, right? They were dead wrong about it. You're not $1 million player, but you catch $1 million, and now you're at the end of the bench. You never play, and they're going to try and run you out so they free up the $1 million. But you, at the $1 million, scored the best deal you could score right then at the very beginning. And so now going down might help you as a basketball player, but you don't have a pro contract in front of you. Mm-hmm. So you're going to stay there and eat up the millions while you can,
Yep.
as long as they don't throw you out. And this is what these big schools are going to have to, this is why I've said it, and I'll keep knocking on this door. The door of evaluation is the major door right now. You better be right about these kids, because you're paying them big, big money. And everybody now knows you're paying them, knows how much you're paying them, or at least has a vicinity of the area of how much you're paying them, knows that it's a lot of money. And now those results better back up what you're doing with these young men.
Well, because it's pay for play.
It is pay for play, and what they're saying now is
it's no different than the NBA.
You better pay the right guys.
Right.
Look at the Celtics. They went payola, had a $270 million luxury tax, which exceeded the number of their payroll.
And it wasn't sustainable.
Where are they now?
Right.
Holiday's gone. Porzingis is gone.
Yeah.
There are going to be other people gone as well. You know, and now you look at their team. I had a couple of guys grab me at pickleball the other day when I was playing. I pulled my leg out and I had to sit on the side for a little while. So they said, "Hey, you're the guy that does that TV show in town." And I was trying to remain anonymous for as long as possible in that pickle world. But so then they started picking my brain and they go, "Come on, we're diehard Celtics fans. Where do you see him?" I said, "Look, brother, I got to be honest with you. 500. Is going to be a good number for them.
Sure.
500 is going to be a good number for them. They threw a Molotov cocktail into the room. Let's bring this up right now because it was a point that I had. I was going to go a little bit later in the show, but we'll go with it right now. The good news is Jason Tatum, superstar Celtic forward who blew out his Achilles during the season, has been seen at Patriot practice walking around without the assistance of a boot. So is a return for him viable this year? God, I hope so for the Celtics' sake, because they're going to need him. If they can get anybody back. Right now they're dealing with Jaylen Brown and Derek White, and that's not enough. That's not enough. They don't have a whole lot else up front, and I know the new management came in and they wanted to, have a little bit of fiscal sanity. Let's see if it works, Pete, because as I see it right now, in the Eastern Conference, there's a bunch of teams that have them now. Do the Cavaliers have them? Yeah, Cavs got them. Yeah. Do the Pacers have them? Pacers got them. Even losing Miles Turner, they've got them. Knicks got them? Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep. Do the Pistons have them? Because the Pistons were, one of those rising teams. Do the Magic now have them? And now you're going to have to ask the question. I hate to do it, but you got to ask the question, is Joe Mazzulla enough? Because right now they need a really good basketball coach that's going to be able to get them through some of the rough spots because they no longer have the talent roster of the NBA.
That was going to be my question, because I personally think a coach can sink a team of good players as quickly as a good team can transcend the coach.
No doubt. You also have the situation of it's much easier when you got a really talented roster, a lot of great players, and you can kind of facilitate that and not have to have a whole lot of hands-on coaching. You can be very systemized. As you see, they went to the 3-ball like crazy because they just lacked for offensive structure. They lacked for screening. They lacked for some good play calling, to be very honest with you, and I think they could use that. In the absence of all those great players, if they take that same strategy that they had going in with these guys and go 3-ball crazy with Nehemiah Queta and Baylor Shearman, they're going to be looking at sub 500.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the Celtics need to return to like a blue-collar lunch pail type team. Just grind it in there, man.
That always works in basketball. They went to that pretty stuff, and you and I was sitting here, Pete, watching them. They were shooting 100 threes in NBA games. That doesn't possess the requisite energy that you need in a basketball game. That looks like a shooting contest more than a basketball game.
Yeah.
And so what also is I've also said this a long time, is that right now you have a situation where a basketball team resembles the military in a lot of ways. And one of the ways they resemble the military is that you only have one basketball for 5 players. So 20% of the unit is taking the shot. The other 80% of the unit are in 100% support of that shot. And so there's only one shot coming at a time. Everybody else has to support. What's happened in the NBA is they have the one shot coming, and it's coming from all over the map right now. They don't have the other players in support. They don't screen each other. They don't move the floor. They don't create space with their movement for the other players. They stand around on the perimeter, hopeful that that guy won't be able to get off his shot. He'll have to throw it to me on reversal, and then I will shoot the 3 ball. That's what it's built on right now. Crazy. It really is. And you don't need really good coaching if you're going to do that. You really don't need to have good coach.
That's pretty much street ball.
Yeah, you could have anybody do that. You could bring up high school coaches in Marlboro, and they can run a 3-ball operation for you. Just take any shot you want. But that's as you're going to get into it and grind into it, it didn't help them this year, and it's not gonna be that effective next year with a whole lot of deficit on your talent roster. That's just my guess. All right, Pete, let's jump into Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is having impact. His words.
Good or bad?
I don't think he has intentionality about it.
Okay.
I think he's just telling you like it is. And people aren't like, so it's like Daniel Boone telling you what's up front. That's how I look at Pitino. He's a pioneer. He's been in this game for a long, long, long time.
Sure, yeah.
And he knows which way it's moving right now. And so he said 2 things. One came out to be fairly prophetic, or does he just say things and everybody follows along Pareto's theorem a little bit? 20% of the world is thinking of stuff and the other 80% is going, okay, we follow that stuff. Is Pitino the 20% of the coaching world right now and everybody else is just vacuuming up into seeing that? We'll see. Last year, Coach Pitino opined that they weren't going to recruit high school players anymore.
I remember that.
There was no more recruitment of high school players.
That was a fundamental shift in the college
paradigm shift. Yeah. Oh, huge. You called it, Pete. And then guess what happened? High school guys are out there on the vine. Now, the NCAA now has a proposal which says that they're thinking about allowing 5 years of eligibility. All right? What that's going to do to the high school player is make the vine longer.
Yeah, sure.
They're out on the vine. They're going to be out on the vine for a while.
You know that benefits? AAU and prep schools.
Yeah, and it benefits guys who are getting big NIL bags who just want to stick around for that 5th year because they don't have the ability to be a pro. It's AAU. One of the things which is going to disprove the NIL. If you're getting $2 million as a college player and you can't get nowhere near that as a pro, that's disproving the whole thing right there. You're paying these kids way, way above what the value of their services are worth because they can't get it anywhere else. If you're an MIT physicist, you can get paid everywhere. If you're an AI genius right now, you can get a $100 million contract from Mark Zuckerberg. Okay? But that's where the whole thing is, and this is what will disprove the NIL in time, is what I say is you will never, ever make that money again. You got guys in the A-10 right now, no shot at ever playing in the NBA, and they're making money that's significant and close to NBA guy money. All right. So Pitino comes back this year, 2025. His prophecy this year is the point guard position is dead. I sat in front of my TV. I was like, I was a point guard. You were a point guard. But there's a lot of truth to what he's saying right now, because if you look in the NBA, it's whoever gets the rebound brings it up now. It's more of a wide open flow system, 5-out system. You don't have really back to the basket centers. You certainly don't have 2 low post guys like they used to. I don't know. I get it, but I do think that, again, when you're in that kind of military format, who's your general that decides who's going to take that shot?
Yep.
Right? You have the general sits up there and he says, okay, we're going to run them from flank over here, or we're going to come over on this side from the north end. Those are the generals who make those decisions. That's what I see your point guard doing. But I think Pitino's thing is, and he's always been one of these coaches that's hyper involved in the game. And I mean hyper involved in the game, like calling the game like at a level that's, to me, was always a little bit, if I was playing for him, I would be distracted by it almost. But that's one of the things that he's hyper into the game as far as management of the game. Now, do you not need a point guard because you're so hyper into that? I think another coaching style might require it. I don't think the point guard's dead. I do see things trending away, but this is what we do when we don't think you a guy bringing the ball up's any good. We're going to pick him up, we're going to turn him, and we're going to get after him, and we're going to take the ball from him. And after your guy who you think's good enough to bring it up 5 or 6 times under pressure gets ripped and gets stolen, believe me, Rick Pitino's going to be running for his point guard. You want somebody to get that ball over half court, somebody that can get your offense set up, somebody that makes your other players better than they are. I understand that's kind of gone, but it doesn't mean the position is dead.
So, Coach, it sounds like they're making everybody generalist, and that leans more into street ball. 100%.
What it does, and this is what I swear to you, Pete, what it does, it absolves them of coaching decisions.
Okay,
you don't have to coach no more. You don't have to make decisions.
You just have to be a time manager.
You just got to sit there and let them go. And say, oh my God, they made a mistake. They did this. You can. It's plausible deniability for basketball coaches.
But not even that. It seems like that's what the players have been wanting for a decade now, by setting up their own teams and, basically ignoring their coaches, getting coaches run out because they just don't like them. It seems like this is what the players want.
Yeah, I think that. Well, obviously, there's the philosophy behind giving people what they want, rather than giving people what they need.
Yep, I got you.
But also, when the players started making more money than the coaches, that paradigm shift went really the other way. So that's why you see they can run a coach out in the NBA tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're not running Mike Krzyzewski out.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, different levels to it. But, I think he has a point, but I think that there'll always be room in the game for that type of 1 through 5 mentality where somebody makes the other players better, brings the ball up, gets you into sets, I couldn't live without my point guard right now. When he said that to me, I was like, I was going to text my point guard and say, don't worry, I don't believe this for 1 second.
Yeah, right.
Because he's a true point guard. His brother led the Division I ranks in assists for a while. The family, they understand basketball at a root level. That's important. And so I'm fortunate to have a point guard, I think, that does that. I think what Mr. Pitino's alluding to is he's having trouble finding point guards that'll do that. And that's up at that higher level. But why is that, Pete? Why is the least, let me put it to you this way. All right. Why is the position that requires the most amount of selflessness on the run right now? Because of the phone, because of the clicks, because of the money, right?
Because everybody's self-absorbed. They're narcissistic because of this.
They're certainly narcissistic, but you also, just like you said many times, you made it pay for play.
Yeah.
So how do you get paid? You score. You're a guy who shoots the ball every single time you touch it. So your numbers look good at the end of the year. Nobody looks at shooting percentage when they do that. And so in the NBA, they call it arbitration, where you look and a judge goes, oh my God, he's averaging 20 points a game. And you sit there, Your Honor, he stinks. he just shoots the ball every time he touches it. That 20 points doesn't make him a good player, but that's how the whole game is now.
Yep.
It's me. I gotta get mine. and it's the rare coaches that are able to keep that together. I think you're going to see a little bit of a paradigm fight between that. On one side is going to be the gunslingers, and on the other side is the guys clinging to try and keep it the way that it was, and which will be more successful, which will lend out, I don't know. Look at Danny Hurley's teams. Okay? Who was the point guard on those teams? This is what Pitino's alluding to. It was Tristan Newton, but he was a guard that could do everything. He also was a point guard, but he was a great defensive player, could handle the ball, shoot the ball. So there is a little bit of that.
But is that what he's meaning? Like you want an all-purpose guard instead of a designated point guard?
Yeah. And he's saying we're going to be 6'6" across the board.
Wow.
We're going to be long. We're going to have everybody who's going to be 6'6", and you're not going to be in a situation where you have a 5'8" guy that's a deficit to your defense. Basically what they're saying. Because they switch everything. They're in a situation where they switch screens. They switch assignments. So you and me are covering two guys, and all of a sudden we go and we just switch. Now you're covering one guy and I'm covering the other. And if they dribble back towards them again, we'll switch again. So we're not fighting over screens. We're just switching everything. And what that requires is 5 guys that can cover almost every position. It's one of the reasons that they have the big guy, Zuby Ejiofor, was the key to their success last year because he's 6'10", 6'11", but he went out and covered guards. He was able to get down, and he's athletic enough. And when you see a big guy who can really do that, go out on the perimeter and guard people, like Pitino made him. Usually your big guys want to sit in the back, and they want to look at everything and block a shot once in a while. Not in Pitino's defense. You're up covering.
All right, but the only guys that can do that are guys with the biggest bags of cash.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to get what they're going to get.
Well, do you know who his guys are down in New York? I mean, the money that they have. But
that's what I'm saying.
That's why he said, they had Kadari Richmond come over from Seton Hall. And Pitino was honest. He said the only reason we got him is we gave him more money.
But that's what I'm saying. What does that do to the rest of Division I? If Pitino's trying a paradigm shift to have like a ubiquitous player that doesn't really have a spot but is a type, there's not that many people that are 6'6" out there that you can't populate every team like that. So you're going to have 10 or 12 teams that can do that, and they're going to run the whole show, and that's going to be it.
If you think that's the way to go, Arkansas beat them last year. Calipari's team beat Pitino in the NCAA tournament. I thought St. John's would handle them in that game, but all the switching, all of the other stuff, it led them into some bad situations there. It led them into some bad mismatches with Boogie Fland and some other guards that are real quick. They had a lot of trouble covering them. So it's not – what happens is people jump into this stuff and they go, it's perfection. It's awesome. This will work. It's going to work for Rick Pitino because he's buying all the guys he needs in order to make it happen.
Right.
Is it going to work at Iona? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Yeah. So that's, but that's what you do as a coach. Are you willing to follow along in the Rick Pitino model and say we're going to do that, or are you going to stick to your guns and do what you got to do
But the other problem
play
is
the way you have?
If a team like Iona goes and pounds the bushes out there and gets guys like that from high school, right?
Yeah.
They're going to come in for a year and then get poached by a team like Pitino's team.
Boom, boom, bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's you never heard me say on this show that this is fair. You've never heard me say that. What you heard me say is, and you drop the thing every day when you punch that button, when that $sign comes down, punch it, Pete. Go ahead. That's the thing that matters right now, and it's the only thing that matters right now. It's sad. We've gotten here. Will it come back around? I don't know, but right now where we're at is in Armageddon. We're just in basketball Armageddon right now. The game's still good, but the rest of the stuff around it is awful. All right, I want to get into, I think Pete and I had a little bit of a great chat there.
You may only get 150 done.
We're gonna see with 150, and then we'll keep it back to next week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do some speed talking. Here's the last piece of information I wanted to add. The NCAA decided not to expand the tournament this year. They're not going off of 68. They didn't have anybody that was advocating back to 64, which is what I would advocate for. Take it back to the way that it was. They're at 68 right now. There had been talk of 72, 76 for at least right now. Dave Gavitt Jr. said we're not going to do that. All right, here's my top 50, Pete, and that'll probably take us maybe to the end. We'll see how we go. It better take us to the end, now that I don't have time for the other 50. All right, so who's the best player in the NBA right now? This is gonna be up top. You're gonna have, where there'll be a lot of dissent. Nikola Jokic, for me, in the zone right now, is our number one. I thought he should have been MVP last year. Obviously, the goods with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander turned out the right way with them winning the championship, going all the way. But I don't always think that that's the way you determine the MVP. If you take an MVP and you say most valuable, you say, what would that team look like if they took him off of it? And I think the Thunder probably win 60 games or, 50 games without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I don't think the Nuggets win 30 games if they trade Jokic tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Joker in the number one spot. And what it does for me is it's just triple-doubles, Pete. It's just triple-doubles. He's averaging triple-doubles. You can't beat that, and I get the NBA.
But he also brings up the rest of the team.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I get the NBA wants to shift in and out every once in a while. They gave Joel Embiid. How'd that turn out? They gave him the MVP a couple of years ago when Joker was clearly the winner. Big Kendrick Perkins had to get his head stuck in that one. And then they go Nikola Jokic again. He averages a triple-double. They gave it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I get it. The Thunder right now are absolutely stacked, loaded, and have an unbelievable future. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sits in my number 2 spot, Pete. I think he's a terrific player. It's very, very difficult to guard him. And I would give Mark Daigneault of the Thunder a lot of credit. Massachusetts resident, great young man. I got to know him a little bit growing up when he was growing up as a player. And he's to be credited because they really put their team in good spaces. They also have Jalen Williams, who's on my list very high here. Holmgren, they're loaded. They're loaded for the future. The Thunder right now have the best back-to-back chance in a long time. Better than the Celtics, better than the Nuggets, better than anybody, I think, in a very long time. In the 3 spot, Pete, this was an easy one. My guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's decided, I think, to stay with the Bucks. They picked up Miles Turner. They let Damian Lillard go. Lillard had been picked up by the Trailblazers, so that is going to help them a little bit. But I think, he's going to stick around. I wouldn't be surprised to see some late action happen here with him, though. The Knicks, the Celtics, somebody knows they need help. Now, if they get Tatum back, I think they'll be okay. If you put Giannis Antetokounmpo on the Knicks team, the Knicks are the Eastern Conference favorites right now, as long as with the caveat being that they don't have to give up too much to get them. All right, Anthony Edwards is in my 4 spot. I think I'll be a little controversial with that, but I love this young man. I think he's got tremendous skills to play guard, forward in the NBA. He shoots it well, takes it to the rim. He's an unbelievable athlete. I love him. I think he could be an MVP in the league someday. 5 spot, Donovan Mitchell of the Cavaliers. I really like Donovan Mitchell. He's a New Yorker. Really, really great career so far. He's the guy that makes the Cavaliers go. I think they got a little bit lost in the playoffs this year. I think that they'll recalibrate. I think they'll be back. They return most of their team. They have Darius Garland, Mobley back, and I really think Donovan Mitchell, he's in that top 5 bracket. Really is. That's elite category right there for sure. Number 6, and again, I didn't count their injuries when I did this. Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics. We're in Massachusetts. Love Jason Tatum. Duke graduate. Love him. Great player. A lot of criticism of him. I think he's one of the most criticized guys in the NBA, really. And I don't get it because his numbers, his results, he wears an NBA championship ring. I think he's a terrific player. I have him in the 6th spot, and we're hoping for a very speedy recovery for Jason Tatum because I think he adds a nice bit of class to the NBA, too. I really think that he covers that aspect of it, too, and I always like that. LeBron James, Pete, got him in the 7th spot. I mean, his numbers are there. He's 40, but his numbers are there. I want to see what him and Luka can do together for an entire season. They've gotten better. I think they got a better team, a deeper team. We'll have to see if they can stay healthy. But him and Luka, for the whole year to see what they can put together. It'll be interesting. Best shooter in the game, Pete, Steph Curry. No question about it with the Warriors. Years ago, you would be questioning whether he was the 1 or 2 best player in the league right now. He slipped a little bit, not because he's not a great player still, but because some of these young guys have stolen the spotlight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander holds the spotlight that Steph Curry used to hold. I got Luka in the 9 spot. A lot of people would have Luka higher than 9, but I have Luka in the 9 spot because Luka doesn't play any defense. We call him Luka Onchik on this show. Love him offensively, love him as a young man. I think he brings a lot of things to the table. But, man, you got to at least try on defense. He doesn't even crack a stance. Tyrese Halliburton in the 10 spot. He has elevated his game significantly from going to be the number 1 most overrated player in the NBA, voted on by the players, to in the finals this year, had a shot to win it all. If he doesn't go down with an Achilles injury, you've got the Indiana Pacers in rarefied air. The reason that they're in that rarefied air right now is because of Mr. Halliburton. It's not Dick Cheney's Halliburton.
He had surgery, and I saw him on SummerSlam because he's a monster wrestling fan.
Right.
And one of the wrestlers used one of his crutches as a weapon during one of the matches. It was great.
I got to love that. You got to love that. And I think, we'll see how, because Achilles injuries in the past were really, really devastating. And to have as many of them as we did have this last year, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that recovery time is, to see maybe we're in a new model, because these guys are going to have the best trainers. They're going to have the best workout programs.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the swimming pool and doing other things that are really, really the best of the best. So we'll see if they can get that healthy recovery back. I hope so. 11 spot, this young man could be even higher. Cade Cunningham, what a great season he had for the Pistons. He's a rising young star in the NBA, and I think quite a bit of this young man, Oklahoma State product, and I think he's going to be one of the really good players in the league coming forward. The Pistons were on their back last year. The Pistons were flat on their back this year, and in one season they became a playoff team. One of the reasons for that is one of the Thompson twins, but also because of Cade Cunningham. 12 spot, Victor Wembanyama. I think I need more time with him, Pete. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to be one of the greats in the NBA, but he's not right now, and he has the ability to be, but he's not right there right now with those other guys.
Not enough sample size?
I don't think so, especially with the injury last year, with the thrombosis last year. I just didn't get to see enough. And, he's one of them guys that's just like, he's cool out there, I'd love to just see some more fire out of him a little bit, maybe, where, he's a little bit like Ralph Sampson almost, where he's so dispassionate, in his feet. I think that's good too, but on a basketball court, I want to see you kind of grunt a little bit and get after it a little bit. I want to see that you're hungry and ready to go. I want to see a little bit more out of that. 13, Paolo Banchero. People are going to say, how did you put Paolo Banchero in front of Jalen Brunson? Because he's 6'8", and Jalen Brunson's not. Banchero is fabulous, a great player, stuck on a Magic team right now that's in the middle of trying to get better, has a chance to get better, but they need a little bit more firepower. But Banchero is unbelievable in my mind. I got 14, Jalen Brunson. I just think he's just pure heart and soul, man. A guy that size with the ability that he has, he's a ball control guy, which I don't love, but he produces and he hits big shots. He's clutch and he's tough as nails, man. He got hit to the ground more than anybody in the NBA playoffs this year. Just keeps bouncing up, just keeps getting after it, and gets knocked to the ground again. 15, Anthony Davis at the Mavericks. I'm really, really pumped to watch this Mavericks team this year. Is Kyrie around? Is Anthony Davis around? Is Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford around? Because if they are, then you're going to see Cooper Flagg have a really good chance to come out on the NBA floor and have a good season, have a good rookie year, and not be mired in mediocrity or flat-out disaster program down winning 19 games a year. So I think that's a good fit for Mr. Flagg. I'm praying that they stay healthy. I see them as one of with that roster right there, if that can hang together, depending upon some maybe a little bit more guard play and some shooting. They do have Klay Thompson on that team, too. So if he comes around and adds that shooting, that roster could be all right. They could be good. So I like that. James Harden with the Clippers. It's hard to be Harden. That's one of our own segments here. But, man, the guy puts up numbers. You can't fault that. I wouldn't want him on my team. I wouldn't want Jalen Brunson on my team because I like to shoot it once in a while too. But he's tough, man. The more the ball's in his hands, the better off he is, obviously. But it's to detriment of the team as well. The Clippers this year kind of needed him to do that. And sometimes in years past, the Rockets needed him to do that. But there were times when I watched him play with the Rockets where he was the only guy that touched the ball for like the entire quarter. And it just became almost impossible to watch. 17th spot. This is going to be an interesting one, Pete. Does Kevin Durant go in and really solidify all those young guns that are on? They have one of the Thompson twins. They've got great talent on that team. Great young talent on that team. Is Kevin Durant what they need? Or is he going to get hurt on layup line again? Is he physically not capable of doing what he used to do in the NBA? I think he's still one of the best players, but I think we're also on the back nine with Mr. Durant as well.
Yeah.
18, Pascal Siakam from the Pacers. Halliburton, Siakam, that's why they went as far as they did. That's their 1-2 punch. And I really like this young man. I think he's got a very bright future. He's big, rangy, can shoot it, can do a lot. Jalen Williams at 19 for the Thunder. This is why the Thunder and the Pacers are as good as they are, because they each have two players in the zone top 20. Okay, Jalen Williams had a monster playoff season. At times was their best player during the playoffs and was one of the key figures leading them to the championship. They just re-signed him as well. Let's go 20, Jimmy Butler. Why not, Pete? Great for the Heat. Got into trouble there, maybe on the other side of Heat culture a little bit. And now you got him with the Warriors for the full season without all the stuff that was going on last year. You put him and Steph Curry together. I think the Warriors still got a whole lot of other issues. I don't think they've drafted well. I don't think they've gone into the free agent market well. You got to get some guys that are more complementary to Steph Curry. And also, I think it's time for Draymond Green to ease on down the road. Time for the Green Mile. All right, then we're going to go 21, Devin Booker with the Suns, just re-signed him. They got rid of Beal. They got rid of Durant. It's all Booker now. It's going to be all Booker all year in Phoenix. You better keep him healthy, and he better be worth every dollar you just spent, because you just spent a huge chunk of change on him. 22, Kawhi Leonard. Man, if this guy wasn't hurt, we'd be talking about him in the top 10 every single year. He's got unbelievable skill, can get space on his jump shot, probably the best one-on-one player in the NBA still right now. But, man, he's been injured so much. He's with the Clippers. I got him at 22. 23, Jaylen Brown. And people say, would you take Kawhi Leonard over Jaylen Brown? And I would say Brown's a little more healthier, maybe a little bit more athletic in this stage of his career. But every day and twice on Sunday, I'm taking Kawhi Leonard. Evan Mobley at 24 for the Cavaliers. Love Evan Mobley. I think he's going to be a really good player in the future. One of the reasons I like the Cavaliers is they're young. Garland's young. Mobley's young. Donovan Mitchell's young. Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat, number 25 out of 50. Had a good year for the Knicks this year. What I liked about him, and the reason I put him at 25, folks, and I'll give you this. He was a three-ball maniac when he was with the Wolves. He was just shooting 15 threes a game, 14 threes a game, and he's 6'10". And the Knicks, he gave them an inside presence this year. He lightened up on the three ball, and he got inside, and he scored around the basket and did some really good stuff. Had a monster year for the Knicks. I got to give him credit. Jaren Jackson with the Grizzlies. Grizzlies got a hot young team, but if Morant had been able to stay on path, they'd be a whole lot better than they were. Zach Edey, terrific big man inside. I think if Morant can get his head straight, this is a good team. Jaren Jackson's certainly ready to go. I think they got Scottie Pippen Jr. over there as well. De'Aaron Fox scored 60 points this year. He's with the Spurs. And I think he's going to do good things for the Spurs, especially if there's question marks around Wembanyama. No, they drafted Dylan Harper. They have Stephon Castle. I don't think that was a good draft move, but De'Aaron Fox, those three guys are kind of like similar. You know, Fox more of a scorer, But the other guys are, pretty similar to that. I got Chet Holmgren, 28. Again, this is why the Thunder are the Thunder. They got 3 of the top 28, 3 of the top 30 in the zone players going, and it's unbelievable. Jamal Murray for the Nuggets. This guy's up and down like a thermometer. It goes up and down, has a great game, bad game. He was one of the key components of that Nuggets championship team. And in the 2 years since that time, I couldn't explain to you, even as a coach, been in this a long time, what's gone on with this young man. I really don't know. 30 and 31. Alperen Sengun of the Rockets. Really good, really solid, inside, outside, got the Euro game, and he's able to hang with it. Domantas Sabonis at 31, love him with the Kings. Going to lead the league in rebounding or be close to it. Going to block some shots, and he's a very adequate inside-outside player. He can shoot it a little bit outside, but he's really, really effective inside. He has very, very good McHale moves, what they call McHale moves in there. Kevin McHale rewrote the book with some of his moves. Elijah Wan rewrote the book of low post play with some of his up and unders and all that other stuff. I see that a little bit from Sabonis. A little bit more fluidity might help. This guy, I don't know, 32. I didn't want him down this far, but he's with the Raptors, and he's just obscured up there in Canada. Scotty Barnes, I love him. I think he's probably a little bit higher than this, but the Raptors are dragging him down. Tyler Herro from the Heat, a monster year for him. One of the best shooters right behind Steph Curry in the league. Franz Wagner at 34 from the Magic. He's solid. His brother's solid. Let's see if they can make that run because they're getting more mature, getting a little older, and they've been able to keep that Magic team together around Banchero. There's Jai Morant, 35. In years past, he would have been top 15. I don't know what this young man's done to himself. I hope he can get on autocorrect. Now we got to hustle, though, Pete. 36, Joel Embiid at 76ers. I left him in there. His knees are shot. That's the big problem with him. His knees are shot. All right, I don't know that you're going to make that comeback. Trae Young from the Hawks, probably a little higher, but I've never been a huge fan of his. 38, OG Anunoby from the Knicks. That's the third Knicks player in the top 38 players. Bam Adebayo from the Heat. Ivica Zubac from the Clippers, the big man who holds them together inside. Here's Darius Garland from the Cavaliers. And 42, we bring in Lauri Markkanen. This is where it got a little difficult. I got Dame Lillard at 43. I didn't really like his move to the Bucks. I didn't think he played well for the Bucks. I think he's certainly a talented guy, but I think he's one of those guys that's like Harden, where he's really good in ball control. But when you put him on a team with a guy like Antetokounmpo, and he couldn't be that alpha dog and be that main guy, I didn't see what I wanted to see from him. And now that he's hurt, he's gotten traded to the Blazers. That's not going to help anybody. So I got him at 43. We'll see. 44, Cooper Flag. I'm going to put him in there. We'll see. But he's in the top 50 right now. And if he gets on the Mavericks and does some good things, he's got a shot to be Rookie of the Year. I think he's got a legitimate shot to be Rookie of the Year. But I think also Mr. Flag's got to do a little bit to keep himself healthy. I said the same thing to Zach Edey when we said Zach Edey was the number 1 pick overall. Stay on your feet, big man. Stop chasing every block shot. You're going to get a sprained ankle. And so I'm going to say to Cooper Flag, not every dunk needs to be thrown down with the fury of thunder and Thor, okay? You can lay the ball in and keep your hands healthy and not go pounding your legs and your knees into obscurity. You're a good player. Got to work on some parts of his game for sure, but I think he will put in that time and do it. I got him in the 44 spot. Cooper Flag is going to be the guy to watch all year, really, to see how that goes. Jrue Holiday. He's with the Blazers. Now they're going to have Jrue Holiday. They're going to have Dame Lillard. They're going to be handing out AARP cards as you come in with your ticket. But I want to see if they can make that older lineup work. Tyrese Maxey from the 76ers, another guy. He said, man, he looked around last year and said, I'm the only guy out here playing. And then he took 20 games off. So the 76ers got a bit of a morale problem, if you ask me. I don't think they got all their guys fully glued in because Ty George is on that team. You know, they got Embiid. They got a bunch of guys that missed significant amount of games. Kyrie Irving, Pete, 47. Kyrie is, a little bit like Durant. He's on the back nine, still a great player, still can make some things happen, and I like him on the Mavericks if he's going to be able to hold down that Cooper flag. If he can really, really, they're both Duke guys. Kyrie went to Duke, so they're both Duke guys, one and dones, both one and dones in Duke. I think that's a good fit because he's going to need a veteran guy around the point to kind of talk to him and get him straight, do some of that other stuff. Pete, only because Will Jackson joined us on the show, I threw Cam Johnson from the Nets on there, but I don't know if they even got a top 50 guy on that team. 49, Miles Turner with the Bucks. Love Miles Turner. Big pickup for the Bucks. If I'm Antetokounmpo, I say I want to see more. I want to see you do more for this roster, but that's a good step in the right direction. He dominated the playoffs. It was great. What a fluid big man. It's hard to get that in the NBA. Runs the floor, dunks everything, plays tremendous, tremendous defense. And Pete, in the 50 spot, I didn't want to do it, but I went ahead and did it because I looked at the numbers, and the numbers were there. Julius Randle from the Timberwolves, another guy like Luka Doncic. On this show, we call him Randle because there ain't no D. There ain't no D. Pete, we're out of time. I'm going to give you my 50 college players next week. Maybe I'll make it 100, and we'll spend a little more time on that. Everybody, please, thank you for watching In the Zone. We love you. All of our zoners, we'll see you next week in the Zone.